When Karen's ATV exploded in a cloud of sparks and plastic, I wasn't surprised. Not because I knew it had happened that exact moment, but because I planted the trap myself, and did it with a smile. You don't trespass on a man's land for months, tear through his crops like it's a racetrack, and expect him to just wave as you pass by. No, ma'am. That was our last shortcut. See, it all started 6 months back when I bought a small plot on the edge of this semi-rural HOA nightmare on the outskirts of town. I'm a retired military engineer used to silence, structure, and fixing things that don't involve passive-aggressive notes taped to my door. The land was peaceful. Flat, open, with a little field for alfalfa, a shed I was fixing up, and just enough distance from my neighbors that I thought I could breathe. But then came Karen. Now Karen, she wasn't just any neighbor. She was the de facto queen of the HOA, even though her husband was technically the president. She had the power, the attitude, and the audacity. I first met her when she marched over uninvited, heels clicking on my gravel driveway, to tell me my mailbox didn't match the community aesthetic. I told her, politely but firmly, that my land was outside HOA jurisdiction. She smiled. But it wasn't friendly, it was the smile of a cat sizing up a bird too close to the ground. That's when I knew I was on her radar. At first, it was harmless. She'd make snide comments at community events, whispering to other board members about outsiders who just don't get the rules. Whatever. I ignored it. I figured she'd get bored. Then came the ATV tracks. I noticed them one morning, deep, muddy ruts right on the edge of my field. At first, I thought some teenager had gotten lost or was just cutting through. I put up a small rope barrier with a "No Trespassing" sign. 2 days later, it was torn down. Next, I added wooden posts. They were flattened within 24 hours. It was personal now. So I got up early one morning, coffee in hand, and sat on the porch waiting. And sure enough, just before 8 a.m., here comes a bright red Polaris ATV tearing across my southern boundary. And who's riding it? Karen. Blonde hair flying in the wind, sunglasses on like she was filming a damn commercial. She didn't even slow down. Didn't look. Just tore through the dirt like it was a public trail. That night I knocked on her door. Her husband answered, blank face, perfect hair, dead eyes. And then she appeared beside him, arms crossed, smack locked and loaded. "I'm gonna assume you're here to complain," she said. I told her she was cutting across my land. It was private, I'd posted signs, and I wanted it to stop. She laughed big, exaggerated, like I was performing stand-up comedy. "Oh sweetie," she said, "I've been using that trail for years. It's just dirt. You're barely using it. And if you don't want people crossing, maybe build a real fence. You know, like grown-ups do." Her husband looked like he wanted to evaporate. I walked away before I said something I'd regret. But I knew then I wasn't dealing with a neighbor. I was dealing with a tyrant. I called the sheriff's office. They were polite, but unhelpful. Unless I had footage, they couldn't do much. "Civil matter," they said. So I installed cameras hidden in trees, disguised as birdhouses, rigged to catch every angle. Over the next few weeks, I got everything. Karen, flying through my field multiple times. Smiling. Waving at the camera. Once, she even stopped, looked right into the lens, flipped the bird, and took off again. Bored as hell. But it got worse. One day, her tires cut into my irrigation line, snapped it clean. Water flooded the edge of the field and killed a patch of fresh sprouts. I sent her a bill. It came back with LOL written in red Sharpie across the envelope. That was the last straw. Let me back up a sec. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. But some people don't understand boundaries unless they hit one. So I spent the next weekend doing what I do best, building a little surprise. Not a weapon. Nothing illegal. Just a retractable spike strip, buried under a pressure plate, rigged to pop up when an ATV rode over it. Armless to a person. Not so much to rubber tires. Next morning, coffee in hand, I waited. 7:48 a.m., there she was zooming down the hill, full speed. She hit the southern track like always, drove right over the plate and boom. Twin pops like a shotgun, both front tires blown out. The ATV veered left, skidded, and flipped into a shallow ditch. Karen went flying mud-covered, screaming, one shoe missing. It was chaos. And it was glorious. I didn't move. Just watched as she pulled herself up, dazed, staggering like a soap opera villain who'd just fallen into a fountain. She looked at my house, and I sipped my coffee. Peace tasted good. Later that day, her husband showed up with a tow truck and a face like a man who'd lost the war. They didn't see the camera blinking quietly in the birdhouse above them, recording every second. But I knew this wasn't over. And I was right. The next week, someone knocked over my mailbox. My irrigation timer was unplugged. A delivery van got turned away by someone who told them I'd moved. And then came the HOA letter. Official looking. Accusing me of endangering a resident and violating multiple community standards. I invited the board rep over. Showed him the footage. The signs. The damages. The map proving my land was outside their reach. He nodded, said he understood, but warned me, Karen's husband had called a special meeting. They were coming for me. So I lawyered up. Then as sharp as a nail gun and twice as quick. She helped me prepare a case so airtight you could sink it in a lake and it'd float back smug. The meeting was packed. Karen showed up with a neck brace, milking it like she was auditioning for daytime drama. Her husband made a speech about safety, about protecting the community from rogue landowners. The usual scare tactics. Then I stood. Played the footage. Karen trespassing, damaging property, ignoring signs. The spike trap going off, legal, safe, precise. I laid out the evidence like a courtroom drama. The room went dead silent. By the end of it, the vote wasn't even close. No fine for me. Instead, they gave Karen an official warning and a written property violation. Her husband tried to storm out but got stuck in the door. Someone in the back chuckled. Then another. And suddenly, the whole room was laughing. A few days later, someone left a tiny ceramic gnome at the edge of my field wearing sunglasses and holding a mini sign that read, "Respect the roots." I left it there. But let me ask you this: who was really in the wrong? Was I out of line for defending my land? Or was Karen just another power-hungry bully who thought rules didn't apply to her? Drop your thoughts below. I'd love to hear what you would have done. Because sometimes, the only way to plant PCOS with a well-placed surprise right under the dirt